The sun barely crested the jagged peaks of the canyon, casting long, harsh shadows over the rocky terrain below. Dust swirled in the narrow passes, and the faint scent of gunpowder hung in the air. The SEAL team moved with practiced precision, crouching low behind rocks and boulders, scanning the cliffs above for any sign of movement. They had been deep in enemy territory for hours, tracking a high-value target, but what had been a calculated mission had erupted into chaos. Suddenly, fire rained down from the ridges, an ambush. The SEALs dived for cover as bullets shredded the rocks around them, the staccato of enemy rifles echoing off the canyon walls. Lieutenant Mark Harris, the team leader, cursed under his breath as he peered over a jagged boulder. "We're pinned," he whispered into the comms, voice tight with tension. Requesting immediate extraction, each member of the team responded with silent efficiency, checking ammo, scanning escape routes, and keeping their heads low, but it was clear, they were outnumbered and outgunned. Sweat ran into their eyes, mixing with dirt and blood, but their training kicked in. Every movement was measured, deliberate, and life-saving. Above them, slicing through the pale morning sky, came the muted hum of an F-35. Lieutenant Commander Elena Hawk Reyes adjusted her course, eyes scanning the canyon through the cockpit's augmented reality systems. She had been monitoring the mission from a distance, ready to provide support if needed, but what she saw on her screen made her stomach tighten. The SEALs were in trouble. The usual protocols dictated caution. Activating the F-35's long-range radar in this area was forbidden. Classified, dangerous, detectable, but Elena had one thought overriding everything else: survival of the men below. Her fingers danced across the controls, overriding safety protocols, bringing the band radar online. A soft hum filled the cockpit as the pulses spread across the valley, mapping every enemy position with surgical precision. Her screen lit up with blips, red dots marking hostile shooters, machine gun nests, and the lethal angles of incoming fire. Even with the radar active, she had to move carefully. Any misstep would compromise her aircraft and put her life at risk. But hesitation was not an option. The SEALs had only seconds to survive. "Elena, do you copy?" Harris' voice cut through the comms, tense but clear. "We're taking heavy fire." "I've got you," she replied, her voice steady, calm, almost soothing. "Move to your 3 o'clock. High cover on that ridge. I see the gaps. Go now." From above, she watched their movements, guiding them step by step. The bullets tore into rocks and dust around them, but each adjustment she suggested allowed them to inch closer to safety. Her mind worked in overdrive, calculating trajectories, enemy firing angles, wind speed, and even the timing of shadows. One miscalculation could spell disaster for all of them. The F-35 weaved through the canyon, its engine screaming as Elena executed sharp climbs and dives to avoid detection. She was a ghost in the sky, invisible to the enemy yet omnipresent in their view, guiding every step of the extraction. She toggled the radar intermittently, ensuring the enemy wouldn't catch a glimpse of the pulses while still keeping a complete map of the battlefield. A sniper on the ridge shifted slightly, giving a faint silhouette against the bright sun. Elena's eyes zeroed in instantly, and she relayed the position to Harris. "Right side, 10 meters past that outcrop. Move left, now." The SEAL moved, diving behind a rock just as a round shredded the space where he had stood moments before. Elena's heart pounded in her chest, each second a balancing act between caution and urgency. Minutes stretched like hours as the team navigated the narrow, jagged paths. Every step was a negotiation with death, every movement a silent prayer. Elena's pulse was steady, her breathing controlled, but the tension in her hands told a different story. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her, but there was no room for doubt. These men were relying on her, and she refused to let them down. As the SEALs inched toward the clearing that promised extraction, Elena's eyes never left the radar screen. Every blip, every movement of the enemy, every potential threat was accounted for. She knew the risk she had taken by activating the band radar, her career, her security clearance, even her life, but none of it mattered. What mattered was that she could save them. The minutes dragged on like an eternity as the SEALs pressed forward, moving inch by inch through the treacherous canyon. Dust swirled around them, kicked up by each frantic step, mingling with the sharp tang of gunpowder and the metallic taste of sweat. The ambush was relentless. Bullets ricocheted off rocks, and the enemy seemed to anticipate every movement. Lieutenant Mark Harris barked orders, keeping his team low and moving, but his eyes betrayed the tension. Each man was acutely aware that one wrong step could be their last. Above, Elena, Hawk, Reyes monitored everything, her F-35 hovering in a delicate dance between precision and danger. The band radar hummed softly in the cockpit, giving her a complete picture of the enemy positions, but also broadcasting her presence in the clearest violation of protocol she had ever committed. The thought of disciplinary action barely touched her mind. Right now, lives hung in the balance, and she couldn't afford to hesitate. She adjusted her altitude, dipping low to create a visual diversion. The jet screamed through the canyon, its engines a thunderous roar, drawing enemy attention away from the vulnerable SEALs below. Elena, the left flank is compromised. Sniper at 9 o'clock, Harris shouted over the comms, his voice tight with urgency. Copy that, shift left 20 meters, move low, follow the ridge shadow, now. Elena's directions were precise, a combination of military strategy and instinct. She could see the trajectory of each round, the angles of fire from concealed positions, the weak spots in the enemy's formation. With each instruction, she guided them closer to safety, her mind juggling hundreds of variables at once: wind speed, elevation, enemy lines, and the narrow margin of error that separated survival from disaster. The SEALs moved with tense coordination, each step choreographed to minimize exposure. Harris led them over jagged rocks and shallow ravines, trusting Elena's guidance implicitly. One of the younger operators, barely out of training, froze for a fraction of a second, and a bullet cracked perilously close. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. Move, left, now, onto that outcrop. Cover is clear for 5 seconds, go. The young operator obeyed, adrenaline surging, heart hammering. Elena banked the F-35 sharply, creating shadows and loud engine roars that disoriented the enemy. She toggled her radar briefly, mapping new positions as the ambush evolved. Mortar fire exploded nearby, sending debris into the air and rattling the rocks below. She calculated the exact moment when the SEALs could move safely, timing their dash with deadly precision. 3 meters left, now. Keep low, keep moving. She instructed, each word a lifeline. Harris glanced up, catching a glimpse of the F-35 darting between canyon walls. There was something almost mythical about it, a silent guardian weaving through danger, unseen yet omnipresent. He didn't have time to process it fully, every second mattered. The team navigated narrow ridges, sometimes crawling on hands and knees to avoid sniper fire, sometimes sprinting across open ground when Elena indicated a window of safety. Every movement was a negotiation with death. The enemy was adapting, shifting positions, trying to anticipate their escape. Elena's mind raced faster. She deployed every tactical trick she knew, using terrain shadows, timing diversions, creating fake radar blips in the canyon from her jet's maneuvers to confuse sensors. It was a delicate game of chess, with lives as the stakes. The SEALs began to notice the pattern of her guidance, subtle cues that saved them from crossfire, whispers in the comms that predicted enemy fire before it arrived. Finally, the team approached a precarious ridge that led to the extraction zone. Elena's focus sharpened to a knife edge. One miscalculation here could cost them everything. Hold position, she commanded. Enemy moving toward your 6 o'clock. Wait for my signal, now. Move fast, low, follow the shadow line. The SEALs sprinted, bullets zipping past, rocks exploding from impact. They leapt over gaps, slid under jagged edges, and kept moving, guided like shadows by Elena's unseen hand. For the first time, the SEALs felt a glimmer of hope. The extraction helicopters were visible in the clearing beyond, their rotors slicing through the dust and smoke. Elena maintained her cover, scanning for hidden threats, directing movements, and keeping her radar just long enough to ensure no ambush could surprise them. She felt the tension in her shoulders begin to ease slightly as more of the team reached the safe corridor. Even in the chaos, she allowed herself one thought. She had broken every rule in the book, activated forbidden technology, and risked her career, but she had done it to save them. Every pulse of the band radar, every daring maneuver in the F-35, had been worth it. There were still dangers ahead, but for now, the SEALs had the path to extraction. And in that fleeting moment, hovering above the dust and danger, Elena, Hawk, Reyes felt the first flicker of relief that she had managed to hold the line when everything seemed lost. The clearing finally opened ahead, a jagged rectangle of dusty earth surrounded by cliffs and the lingering haze of spent gunfire. The sound of the extraction helicopter's rotors tore through the canyon, whipping clouds of dust into the air and reducing visibility to a chaotic swirl of brown and gray. The SEALs could see their salvation in the haze, and instinctively, they picked up the pace. But the enemy was relentless. Snipers and machine gunners still held positions on the surrounding cliffs, waiting for any misstep. Every second counted, and every breath could be their last. Above them, Lieutenant Commander Elena Hawk Reyes kept the F-35 steady, her hands locked on the controls, eyes scanning every detail. The band radar pulsed quietly, her secret weapon, mapping enemy positions with an almost eerie precision. She had become a phantom in the sky, a guardian angel guiding the men below. Her mind worked at a superhuman pace, calculating distances, enemy line of sight, rotor wash from the helicopters, and wind turbulence, all while keeping the jet's movements unpredictable enough to avoid detection. The thought of getting caught by command later barely registered. Right now, her only concern was survival. Elena, we're almost there. Harris' voice cracked through the comms, strained but tinged with hope. We've got the clearing in sight. Hold tight, Elena replied, voice calm but commanding. Enemy at 12 o'clock, 60 meters high. Don't make a sound until I clear the path. She banked the F-35 sharply, performing a low-altitude pass that drew the attention of the enemy gunners. The roar of the engines, the sudden change in angle, the blur of the jet against the cliffs, it was enough to force several shooters to adjust their aim, giving the SEALs a narrow window of opportunity. The team moved in tight formation, sprinting across the rocky ground, ducking behind jagged stones, and sliding under the shadows cast by the cliffs. One of the operators stumbled, scraping his arm on the rough surface, but Elena's voice cut through the dust. Move. No hesitation. You're clear. Adrenaline surged through every man, propelling them toward the helicopters as if some unseen force was carrying them. A mortar round exploded just 50 meters away, sending shards of rock flying in every direction. The SEALs dove, rolling into cover, but Elena had already calculated the safe moment. Now, sprint left, cover to the dip. Go, go, go. She watched the team respond, each step a dance with death, each leap a testament to their training and trust in her guidance. The first helicopter touched down, skimming the ground and creating a mini dust storm. The ramp dropped, and Harris yelled, go, go, go. One by one, the SEALs dove into the safety of the aircraft. Elena maintained her cover from above, scanning for any enemy attempting to follow, using the F-35's agility to keep all threats pinned or disoriented. Each second felt stretched, every moment a heartbeat away from disaster. As the last of the SEALs approached the helicopter, a sniper fired from a hidden ridge. Elena acted instantly. She banked sharply, using the jet to create shadows, drawing the sniper's aim away, then toggled the radar to reveal another concealed enemy position. She relayed the coordinates to Harris just in time. Left side. 15 meters from the ridge. Jump down, now. The SEALs followed, diving into cover before the round impacted mere inches from where they had been standing moments before. Finally, the last man leapt aboard the helicopter. Elena allowed herself a brief sigh of relief. The extraction was complete. The SEALs were alive. Every life she had been responsible for had survived the ordeal. She climbed higher, breaking through the canyon walls and into the open sky, the pulse of the band radar fading as she disengaged it. In the quiet that followed, she felt the weight of what she had done settle over her. She had broken every rule, defied protocol, and risked everything, but she had saved lives. Down below, the SEALs took stock of their survival. Dust-coated, exhausted, and battered, they glanced skyward for a fleeting moment. They didn't see her clearly. Her jet was gone from their line of sight, but they felt her presence, the invisible force that had guided them through the storm of bullets and death. Harris muttered something under his breath, a silent acknowledgement to the unknown savior who had orchestrated their escape. Elena flew back toward friendly territory, the valley shrinking beneath her. Her pulse finally began to slow. There would be questions later. There would be investigations. The fact that she had activated a band radar system would likely provoke reprimands, maybe even end her career. But in that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the sound of the helicopter engines fading into the distance, carrying every man she had saved to safety. And for the first time since the mission began, she allowed herself to believe she had done the impossible. The canyon fell silent once more, the echoes of gunfire replaced by the whisper of the wind through the cliffs. Elena, Hawk, Reyes, unseen and unbroken, had rewritten the rules in that valley, proving that sometimes, courage demanded bending every law, breaking every rule, and risking everything for those who could not escape on their own.